good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed this evening's presentation on forest bathing. So I'm sure maybe some of you know that I'm a landscaper for a living, and I'm a fairy.
And you live with a tree.
And I live with a tree. So forest bathing comes second nature. I remember when I discovered it that I realized that I already did it. So it was kind of cool to like discover that there was all this science actually in the last 40 years behind it as well. So not that we pagans didn't already know that. Clearly, our people have been playing underneath the trees for bazillions of years. So anyway, let's get back into doing that. Now that we're modern pagans, I think it's time for us to reconnect ourselves, and in the process also help ourselves as well. So let's see here. All right. So what exactly is forest bathing? So it's actually a Japanese coined or created form of ecotherapy. So nature therapy. It's actually recognized as nature therapy. So it's like basically a technique for improving your mental, your physical, and I say spiritual well-being, specifically while you're outside in the presence of trees and plants. So the Japanese form that is like the actual first one in modern times that recognized it as a science and as a psychological, they don't really add the spiritual, but it's kind of hard not to kind of like that's the next natural step for it to be, spiritual. So it's called Shinrin Yoku. So Shinrin, sorry, SHINRIN dash YOKU. So Shinrin actually means forest, and Yoku means bath. So you're literally bathing yourself in the essence of the forest. So I'm going to talk about the technicalities of what this school of ecotherapy or nature therapy, how they go about doing it. So this is sort of like technical stuff. Feel free to go and roll your eyes because you already do all this stuff. Just know that all the stuff you're doing is scientific. So, how to go about forest bathing. So, to have a guide or to not have a guide. So when I first was doing my research to do this presentation, I was like, are you kidding me? We live in an urban area. You can go to a park. You can sit in your backyard. Like I have trees in some of the pictures even in this slide presentation are in my yard. Okay. So, but I was like, but I know that if you live in an urban area, sometimes maybe you don't get the opportunity to go outside. And this is your first kind of exposure to the concept of maybe using this kind of nature therapy to help yourself. So if you have never really gone walking in the woods, then maybe it's good to have a guide to help you make sure that you know all the things that you need to, like what kind of good shoes, sturdy shoes to wear, what kinds of things to bring, like have like that 101 experience so you get the basics. It's good to know all the rules so that later on when you're walking on the path, you can break them more easily, right? So, but anyway, and there are actual people that facilitate not just the practicalities of walking in the woods, but also break down how you can go about creating for yourself. Perhaps, I mean, for me, this is meditation, and you can turn it into a little bit more of a structured meditation, or if you're already doing it, it's just what you do anyway. But if you haven't ever done it before, maybe you're not sure which one's good or right for you, so maybe it's good to engage somebody.
There you go.
So the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy guides. I'm going to give you a little rundown if you've never been in the woods of kind of what you might think about if you're going to go walking in the woods. So ideally, according to the association in Japan that created this concept of forest bathing as a more focused, structured event, they suggest that you work up to 2 hours of walking in the woods as optimal for recharging yourself. So keeping that in mind, 15 minutes, a half an hour, it's not so bad, but after an hour, sometimes you're like, you know what I mean? It's supposed, you have to be prepared for where you're going. So whatever you're going to wear should reflect the place you're going. So if you're going to be, going on hills or a little bit more steep, maybe bring your own walking stick with you. You know what I'm saying? You maybe bring a small backpack with water and some snacks and maybe a little change of clothes. Make sure you got sturdy, shoes. Once again, make sure you check the weather before you go so you don't get caught like an hour in to a walk where you have to walk out for an hour of any place. And there's a storm. That's, clearly not the smartest thing on the planet. So also hat, sunscreen, sunglasses, and also maybe a little poncho if it rains on you so you can cover yourself up. Nothing crazy. And like I say, maybe don't do all 2 hours unless you're already a seasoned hiker. Don't do all 2 hours at once. Maybe work up to that, make it half an hour, and then slowly kind of work up to more like the 2 hour that they recommend. All right. How can we do it?
Yeah, you gotta do the other here.
Which one?
That one.
Oh, that one. Okay. So, to me, this is the most important part of this. You need to leave electronics behind, or if you have a backpack, put your phone in the bottom of the backpack so that if you need it, in an emergency, you have it, but it's not readily at hand so you can look at it. The idea is to fully immerse yourself in the forest and to imagine that you're in a place in a time when there was no electronics, no phone, no, internet, none of that crap. You know what I'm saying? This is the whole purpose of this. So the whole idea is that you're going to leave behind everything else, right? So this is like a simple but important thing to do. All right. So the other thing you should be thinking about before you go in is like you want to be listening, engage all your senses, see, look at things, listen to what's going on, smell, touch things, don't feel shy, engage all your senses. Like this is supposed to be a very sensory experience, outside of the digital world. So fully engage this. So this is my yard. This is a view of my front when it was messy from my front door. But you can see, isn't that a spectacular thing to be able to I can just walk out in my front yard and forest bathe, which is wonderful. All right. So the other thing is, please take your time. Don't rush through this. This is not a race. So take your time. Go slowly. When you start your journey, you don't need to be walking at any kind of clip. This is a gentle exercise. Okay. You're not like power walking or anything like that. And take some time to stop. If there's a bench, you can sit on, or a log or a rock or something like that, take the opportunity. In our workaday world, even now with COVID-19 and everybody's kind of, being at home and stuff, it's still kind of busy. And so this is your opportunity to, to disconnect from everybody and everything and to just be still and allow all that tension to drain out of you in a very safe, relaxing way that you can take home with you so that you can function better in your life on every level, you know, so that you can deal with your partner and your children and your work family and your, you know, everybody and the idiots at the store and the people. I'm a bit of a road rage person. I yell at people from behind the wheel. So, you know, this helps me not be so mad at everybody. And magnesium and potassium also help. All right. So tips for beginners. I bet you a bunch of you already kind of walked through. Who here walks through the woods already? Lots of people already spend time in the woods. Isn't it wonderful and refreshing and rejuvenating and regenerating? Does anybody spend time in their own yard, in their own, under their own trees? Yep, I got rid of all my grass and now I have trees. It's so spectacular. I don't have to go too far, you know. So when you're breathing, the other thing about this is like, this is best, I mean, all this sounds just like meditation, doesn't it? Really? And that's really what it is. It's like a walking meditation. And it's something I mean, I guess you could do it with others, but to me that kind of defeats the purpose. But I know that sometimes those groups that do these meditative walks will have places where people can go and they meet in one place and then they can go in different directions. But to me, like, I mean, I guess Birch and I could go to some place if there was two paths and we could meet up at the end and then we would work that out. But, you know, it's really, it should be something that you do for yourself. This is self-care. This is self-love. This is making yourself so that when you need to deal with all the crazy in the real world, you know, in the outside world, you know, the mundane world, if you will, this helps you be able to cope better, you know? So anyway, so once again, turn off your devices. So move slowly so you can really see and take in everything that's going on. So there's so much going on in the woods. Like, you don't realize how much is going on out there. There's birds and squirrels and raccoons and possums and spiders and bees
Boars.
and what?
Boars.
And boars sometimes. We're supposed to be relaxing, not boars. So just like spend some time really looking what's around you, you know? When you're breathing, really be conscious, at least at first, about how you're breathing. When you're taking in breaths, take in a breath, but then take twice the amount of time it took you to take that breath in to let it out. Do that a few times. Doing that tells your body that it's okay to just relax. Like if you do that just a few, you don't even have to do it that much, but if you just do that for a little bit, you'll feel your whole body relaxing because your body was like, you're like, oh, okay, I can relax now. I can relax. And also, you don't have to keep walking. This is like a slow thing. I love walking, like locally, there's quite a few different places to go, and I like going during the week when there's nobody around. There's lots of benches in lots of different parks, and I plan my trips so that there's various little stops along the way so I can enjoy whatever the park planted, or depending on where it is, like the wildlife or whatever. And like, it's so relaxing to just like get away, not think about the phone or my clients or, you know, all that stuff, and really just help me get ready to deal with it all. All right, so getting started on your journey, okay? So I can't believe that I put it all on the right side and the stupid things on the right side. I'm kind of saying all these things more than once because there's always details. And I think a part of this whole process is you start kind of simply, and as you do it more frequently, you start getting into a place where you start noticing more and more the more often that you actually do it. You start realizing the sounds of the birds. You start realize of the different birds, because there's different sounds for different, it's not just bird sound. It becomes the cardinal and the mockingbird and the blue jay and the woodpecker and the hummingbirds. You can hear hummingbirds sometimes when you can't see them. So, and the bees, and just hearing these different interesting noises, hearing different kinds of critters walking through the woods and what kind of sounds they make when their feet go through whatever terrain they're on, the leaves or water, or maybe they're walking across, like a boardwalk or something that's wood, and their feet actually make, pit-pat noises on there. And you're there to listen to those things, and you're mindful enough. I mean, I think this is also, this feeds into the idea, our pagan ideal of mindfulness, and making sure that we're not losing ourselves in the mundane world to the important and soul satisfying and heart warming and supporting that nature provides for us. It's also very, very much a physical positive as well, because you're breathing, you're walking, you're in a good positive way. Your heart, you're making your heart beat in a good solid kind of fashion with your breathing right, and you're walking, or even just sitting. All these things are important for us on so many different levels. Also, it is a walking meditation, so really you're not supposed to be closing your eyes. This is keep your eyes open kind of meditation, or you might get yourself in trouble. And also, the whole point of it is that you are seeing what's around you and exploring that, and interacting with that, at least on a being present level. And also, just the colors of blues and greens are very soothing on the eye and on the person. Like, especially blues are very soothing, and they make us feel much more relaxed and safe. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you should stay as long as you can. Make it a habit. This is like something that you should do for yourself on a regular basis. You can go to the same place all the time. That's kind of interesting, because you get to know it more thoroughly and more intimately, and the details become much more obvious to you when you go to some place all the time and you're looking at the same things all the time, just like a garden. I don't know if any of you are gardeners, but it's art, but it's natural art, and it grows and moves and does stuff and does what you don't want it to do, and you prune it and you trim it, so it's always changing. So if you go to the same place over and over again, you can use that experience to explore more deeply that particular space. Take the same path. Like, we would call that a ritual, I think. Doing the same thing over and over, and then the more you do it, the more quickly you actually go into that state of meditation, that walking meditation. Like, I don't know about y'all, but if I do go to someplace all over and over again, it's like just knowing I'm going there. When I drive into the drive, I'm like, okay, my body's like, oh, here we are. It's time for that beautiful meditation, right? So stay as long as you can. They say that 2 hours is really like the optimal amount of time. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, is like I have obviously been keeping on saying, and also there's the word forest bathing. Doesn't it make you feel all kind of nice?
It makes me want to jump in a forest.
It
and not
makes
move.
it makes me feel like the forest is like gonna hug me and maybe scrub my back,
Especially
you know,
behind the ears.
give me a little cleaning, you know. So amongst other things, and so these all provide sort of some research that's been done over the last, I guess, 40 years or so regarding the 6 major benefits that forest bathing provides. So it reduces stress. We all know meditation does, and for sure, being able to walk in the woods or even sitting on the floor of the forest is so wonderful, and just allowing all of the energy that's, that you need to get rid of. That's the ground. Trees are the perfect place to ground yourself and get rid of that negative energy for yourself. So and when we're not stressed out, we can function better. It also improves your mood. I don't know. To me, the smell of the forest makes me happy, and I always know like which plants. Like I suggest if you do go into the woods, and especially somewhere local to you where you're going all the time, learn what the plants are. You can learn all about them. You can learn about, some of them have medicinal properties. Some of them are pollinator plants. Some of them might just smell good. Like there's some plants we have here in South Florida, like Simpson stoppers. If you just crush the leaf, it just smells so good. Like, so that it does that all year round. Like if you know what that looks like, then you can just take a little leaf, and like when you're walking through, you can smell and crush it in your fingers and smell it, and participate in that part of the forest, that you're going through. It also, once you're there and you're getting rid of all this negative energy and grounding yourself and stuff, you're freeing up a lot of, psychological space for more creativity to come in the future. This is good for you. It's not only fun, but it's also good for you on many levels. Can we go to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
So the fourth one, these are the more sort of practical medical reasons why it's good for you. I guess the other ones are too. Of course, if we're not stressed out, then obviously we don't have raised blood pressure and stuff like that. So, but just being out in nature and out with the trees, it boosts your immune system. There's things called phytonicides that we actually breathe in when we're in the woods. And these help us to enhance our immune system. Also, I'm a landscaper and a gardener. And if you also are a gardener and your hands are in the dirt, there's lots of mycorrhizae and good bacteria and fungi that are all around that help us to not get sick. So I haven't had a cold in years and years and years and years and years. Like I can't even remember the last time I had a cold. Other stuff maybe not related to that kind of thing, but I'm sure that it has a lot to do with how much time I spend, not just in the woods, in the trees, but also with my hands in the actual soil. So of course, if you're less stressed out, you have less high blood pressure. So, and of course, walking in the woods, or just walking generally speaking, helps to keep your heart healthy, as well as keeps you mobile, keeps your, all your muscles moving and stuff like that. So also walking in the woods and being in nature, as opposed to being cloistered in a sick room or something like that, or in a room when you're not well, if you can get outside, it really helps to accelerate or quicken your recovery time when you're actually feeling sick. So like many things, these are things that you do as preventative measures. So these are things you're doing for yourself so that you're healthier when stressors come and can make us sick. Because I know that I can get like physically ill from psychological and emotional stressors. And so this is one way that's easy and cheap and fun to get rid of that. Because I can't really afford necessarily to pay a therapist to go sit and chat with them all the time. And those sorts of things. So this is a way to do that without having to do those kinds of things. Go to the next one. All right. Oh, so, I mean, you can see that is like ridiculously simple, right? All the things that I said, and you probably have done those things. When we do the church work day on 10/10/20 at 10 a.m., we're going to be forest bathing to a degree. So come and we'll even I'll do a guided meditation for us that day in the woods at the church grounds.
You should show us around and tell us the names of different plants and trees around
I can also
grounds.
do some plant ID work while we're there for sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Simpson stoppers, so I can show you what they look like, and you can crush the leaves and smell them for yourselves, for sure.
Right, bonus for anyone coming that day.
So these little references are just, various different places that I got information. Much of it was directly quoted in this presentation because they said everything so darn well. I didn't feel like I needed to do too much more than shorten it for, presenting in a quick, meeting like this one. Because I'm sure you could put a lot more into it, but it's one of those things that it's so simple. It does not, in fact, making it more complicated kind of defeats the purpose of it. The whole point of this is that it's something that's easy and helps to reduce your stress, not, you have to gather so many things together, like a ritual where you have to, have an altar and people doing different, lines and all that kind of, this is something that you do. You could even do it like just you're passing by your favorite park and you've got a half an hour, or you've got an hour, you've got a couple hours. You can just, you don't even have to plan it any more than just having the right kind of footwear and a bottle of water.
Actually, you can do it even easier if you keep the right footwear and a bottle of water in your car at all times.
I'm pretty sure my tree friend knows about these things.